Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, wonderful audience. Please take your seats because we're getting ready to start. Thank you, guys. All right, welcome to this year's Tower of Youth 14th Annual Teen Digital Reel Showcase Awards.
And show at first, was able to hire one person and freelance a radio producer. I had to do it. One, they didn't understand anything about broadcasting, so I had to do it inexpensively, and I had to wear a lot of hats. I edited, I shot camera. Some of it I had to learn on the fly. Audio mix, color correction, all that stuff I had to learn. Much like you guys do now in your classes. You're learning all the different skills. Absorb them. They will be super valuable for you in the future. Even if you don't want to be a cameraman, learn how it works because it could facilitate a job where you can do all the other things you really like. So I used to wire two guys every game, an offensive guy, a defensive guy, and we used, again, technology. This is the Canon XL2. I couldn't find a picture of the XL1. I probably didn't look hard enough, but we had XL1s. These things were revolutionary, interchangeable lenses. Now, you don't see them around that much anymore because they're standard def and they're kind of going by the wayside. But at the time, they were revolutionary. There's a $5,000 or $6,000 camera that did the work of $100,000 cameras at the time, and that's what helped make things work for them. So, in 2001, I put together a video. This is the very special. It's my first Emmy Award-winning video.
Cardinals, baby. You think you're special?
El Largo, Papa.
Jaime Del Solo.
Oscar de la Warthog.
El Diablo. Sergeant Hangover.
El Capitan.
Grande Dinero. Cardinals for life.
1, 2, 3.
A lot of teams are known for their fans. I mean, you've got the Hogettes in Washington, and you've got the Dog Pound in Cleveland, and and we've got the Avengers and the Mad Hatters, and thousands of other fans out there who are just as crazy as any other place.
Let's go, Cardinals!
And there's 30,000 of us come to the game every week. Hardcore Cardinal fans. Why don't you guys come join us?
Maybe we don't pack the stadium every week like some other teams do, but the ones that come, the faithful, the ones that are there behind us every week, they're the ones that make it worthwhile for us. They're the ones that make game day here in Arizona just as exciting as any other place.
What I'm talking about.
That's what I'm talking about, baby.
I love my mom, and I love the Cardinals.
In that order?
In that order.
My name is Grande Dinero, the Cardinal Avengers. I can't give you my real name because all my life I was made fun of because through grade school and high school I always wore a mask and cape and a Cardinal shirt everywhere I went, and people always made fun of me, but now I am loved by everyone at Sun Devil Stadium every Sunday. I hope the kids that are in school nowadays with masks and capes and they're being made fun of, I hope they just get through it and live to be Cardinal Avengers when they're older.
Game time, baby. We're all here for Marte. It's game time, baby. It's Cardinal time. Cardinal domination time. Marte time.
Marte! 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 Marte!
They're real supportive. That's why I show love to them every week when I'm in the North End zone. They just out there. You gotta admire guys to be out there in the costumes, dressed up, and just supporting you the way they do. They say Marte. They really chant my name. They really give me support. They really give me a lot of energy before I'm about to make the kickoff return. So it is much love to the Avengers. I appreciate all your support, man.
And if you're in this state, you should support the Cardinals. They're your team. They play for you. Come out and support them like we do.
Check out, 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 melody. Check out, check out, check out my melody.
So the Cardinal Avengers, these guys in 115-degree heat are wearing masks. I saw them at a game one time and I said, oh my God, there's a story there. That's a story that has to be told. Every game, 110, 112, and these guys are wearing the masks and the capes, and and then of course I meet them. Me and one camera guy go. We shoot all day with them. I talked to the couple players I know. Van den Bosch was on there. He was hurt at the time. He comes out to the parking lot to create a moment for them to meet one of the NFL guys, one of their favorite players. So for me, that was, it wasn't focused on one of our players, but it was a great story about something associated with the team. So I think for me, it's always looking at things, you know, you've got your team and you've got your players, but stepping one step over and seeing what some of the angles are and some stories that you can tell. So while I was there, on top of that, I built all of the edit stations that they had. We used Adobe Premiere at the time. We used the XL1s, you saw that. We used Sennheiser mics. We used to duct tape them onto the shoulder pads. We only, in our 3 years of wiring guys, we only lost one mic to a nasty collision from behind because it used to go right here on the shoulder pads. So anyway, we did a couple shows. We did Maximum Cardinals by All Till It Turned a Profit. We did all the preseason games, and I bring that up only because the producer of the preseason games that I hired is a big part of Crossroads. Bob Adlock was the producer for the Suns. Bob Adlock I hired to produce our Cardinal game broadcasts, and over a couple of years, he and I became friends, and he started to realize all the hats I wore, from radio to people management to executive team, all these things with the Cardinals. So when he found out that the Sacramento Kings were looking to inject some creativity and kind of freshen up their broadcast department, he gets my name to Joe and Gavin. And that's 8 years ago when I made the decision after they offered me the job, and honestly the decision was made after talking to them to come here to Sacramento. And that was kind of one of those moments. And I mean, you know, honestly, how could I not work for them? They know Brad Pitt with a terrible beard. So for me, that's kind of, you know, obviously now it's 8 years later, and we've done a lot of phenomenal things here with the Kings, but that's sort of my journey that comes to this point. And the reason I took you through it, one, so everybody could laugh at me, and you know, there's a couple friends of mine here that would never let me live down my high school basketball photo or my college production on-air stuff. But the real reason is that I was lucky. I was lucky at different moments in my life, but I was ready for when that luck hit. So as you are working on things and developing your skills, and as you start growing up, think about being ready. You may not know what it is. I didn't know I was going to meet that guy, Sean Hunter, with the Nuggets, but I was doing stuff before I even met him that helped facilitate and gave him, you know, the equity, and said, this guy is already, he's doing broadcast stuff. We're going to put him in the broadcast department. If I hadn't been doing anything, how does he say, hey, I got this bartender, I want him to work in your department? That doesn't make sense. His guys would have said, no way. But hey, I got this guy, he's got experience. Can he intern for you guys? It made sense. So hopefully that's kind of some of the perspective that makes sense for you guys. And how many times can I say makes sense, by the way? That was about 8 in a row. Sacramento Kings broadcasting, I just want to give you a little taste. You know, obviously I like playing video. So here's a little more of what we do.
In the beginning, there were questions.
Why aren't we having more production from everybody?
There was uncertainty.
Kings in the playoffs, Sacramento, coin flip, man.
There was doubt.
It's hard to just pinpoint why this, why that. We have to be more efficient. It's just not the way we play.
But somewhere in that storm of adversity, somewhere in that cloud of disbelief, the Sacramento Kings found heart within their hearts, faith from their faithful, and salvation in each other. Tonight, that heart, that faith, gets put to the ultimate test in Minnesota. Game 2, next.
Those are some good times. Good times, playoffs. So I want to give a quick overview of what our broadcast department does, and then I think hopefully illuminate you guys on how many jobs there are and what it takes just to put our TV broadcast on. So we do 82 broadcasts, radio and TV. There's actually 90 on radio, plus playoffs next year, plus playoffs. Kings Productions, 82 halftime features, 82 opens. That was an open tease that you just saw, obviously from the playoffs in 2004. We do 40 to 60 marketing promos. Those are ticket spots. I have one I'll show you that's never been seen before. I'll show you one of those coming up. And there's 1,100, we did 1,100 plus videos, a lot of them repurposed from what we did or chunks of our game broadcast that went onto kings.com this past year. Because obviously online is becoming king. So in my department, I have 12 direct reports, including talent. Note Katie Christensen on the right-hand side. Katie? Somebody? Katie? Anybody? Alma Godinez on the left is our senior manager of broadcast operations. Mike Bird is our director. He's right there in the middle, and then I think most of you guys know Katie. Our TV truck is HD, 53-inch high-def truck. It has about 80,000 pounds of equipment for regular game. Crew calls at 1 o'clock. Our producer and director, graphics guy tend to get in 11:30, somewhere in there. So they end up with about a 12-hour day. The regular crew is about a 10 to a 10-and-a-half-hour day. Here's some of the positions. On the left is our director. On the right, producer, graphics operator, technical director, scorebox operator. One of the most unsung jobs in the business is the video engineer. This guy's in charge of taking all the camera feeds in. On our show, that's 7 home cameras and 2 visiting cameras, 9 feeds, and he's got to shade them so that all the cameras look the same. And that is not an easy job. And also, for anyone who's looking just to get a job, you learn that, you will have a job, because that is a very desirable job through all the broadcast industry. They fly people from all over the place to go to Super Bowls and all that stuff. So video engineer, unsung job. Tape room, becoming tapeless. We run 3 EVS units. They're all networked together, so an EVS unit is like like your DVR at home. It's super high powered. Actually, it's like 2 DVRs at once. You get 2 feeds in, 2 feeds out. It's pretty amazing technology. The guy on the left can clip a dunk by Tyreek, and the guy on the right can use it in a package that he's building. They just communicate. Everybody get that? Makes sense, right? Cameras. Like I said, we have 7 cameras on our home show. Some of them are right there on the court. Some of them are hard cameras up in the camera well. And with every camera comes the utilities. I know Justin's in the house. Shout out to you, my friend. That's Justin on the right-hand side. And the utilities are obviously pulling a lot of cable, doing a lot of hard work, as is the audio team. We have one A1. He runs the full mix. And then we have 2 A2s. They are his runners that run in and out of the truck to make sure that Grant and Jerry, their mics at the table are working. Katie's mic is working. All of the audio communications is working. And then truck engineers. These guys actually travel to all the places that the truck goes. They don't actually go with the truck because they don't drive 15 hours. They actually fly to the next place. And these guys know the truck inside and out and make the broadcast happen. So one thing I wanted to point out, I know somebody clapped when we talked about Adobe Premiere. Who uses Adobe? Okay. This is a couple years ago. This is literally 2008. These pictures were taken in 2008. Jeff Anderson on the left, Brian Hilton on the right. They are editing with external hard drives on Dell laptops using Adobe Premiere. And that was up until a couple years ago when we made a substantial investment and we shifted to Final Cut and an XSAN. And I'm gonna kind of show you what we have in that in a second. But we did that playoff video that you saw a few minutes ago. That was Adobe Premiere. That was not any kind of crazy tools or anything. It was all done with Adobe. So equipment anytime you get equipment, it might make you faster, but it really comes from within how good your video and your storytelling and all of that is. So this is what we have now. We're pretty slick now, and I'm pretty proud of it because it took me 6+ years to sell it through to the Maloofs to make the investment into a fully networked pre-production, kind of post-production suite. We have 12 edit stations. We have Final Cut Studio. We also have the Adobe Creative Suite with Photoshop. That's a big thing that we still use. We have a 40 terabyte XSAN. I always laugh at that because I started on a 17 gig hard drive. Now I have 40 terabytes. Final Cut Server, we are completely networked through our Arco Arena to our building, so the in-arena video board show and the TV truck, they can all talk to each other at any time. We also have an archive system. We actually just got rid of one, and we just invested in Press Store that I learned about at NAB. Don't worry about it. It's really cool technology. So that's kind of an overview of what my department does and what we do. And I talked at the beginning of the show, or the beginning of the presentation, that I really wanted to share with you some philosophies that might help you along the way. And one of the things, especially in a leadership position where I have artists, and I look at everyone from our broadcasters and our talent as artists, to our production guys, to our camera guys as artists, it's a very delicate balance of managing and overseeing artists. So what I want to talk briefly about is measuring art. And my philosophy on this is that there's two parts. There's your soul factor, which is kind of what makes it cool, what makes it feel right. It's kind of immeasurable. It's difficult to really kind of pinpoint why it works. It just feels right. The other one is technical skills, white balance, your color correcting, how to use your vector scope. All of those things, proper lighting, all of those things play into it. And I got to tell you, this kind of philosophy came to me from a guy that works for me. He was actually one of the editors you saw a little while ago, named Jeff Anderson. I asked him, he's a terrific musician, and I said, what makes a good band? Like, is it, it's like a basketball player, you can kind of see, he can, like Tyreek Evans, he's athletic, you can see that, he's technically sound, And he said, look, you can look at bands and measure them on their technical skills and their soul. And I'll never forget that moment. It hit home, and I've been using that for probably 6 years now as a way to always kind of critique and analyze and kind of get a feel for any type of art across the board. And so it's been a very valuable piece for me. So anyway, I thought I'd do a quick study on some music. We'll take athletes out of the mix. So I did my own rankings. And if you make it and you get an album press, you got to be decent. So even Miley Cyrus has technical skills, and she's got some soul factor, all right? So I put her right around in that range. Black Eyed Peas, crazy soul. Anyone who saw their concert at Arco, they're crazy. And then my favorite band, U2, I just put them at the top. I know younger generation, not so much. And then Lady Gaga, like her or not, musically, musician-wise, brilliant. Brilliant songwriter, writes all of her music. All of those things puts her extremely high on that. And then with just her weirdness, her soul factor, especially now, is big. At some point, her soul factor might come down. We might get bored with her, and we'll all move on. So I wanted to play another video. I like video. I want to play another video that I think showcases kind of a nice blend of soul factor with technical skills. And this was done in literally 24 hours. The interviews that you'll see were done on a Saturday night, and this aired on the following Monday. But it had to be with my guys to run.
Our mission statement is, we're for boards and bikes. We're for youth culture. We're for the young people of America, and actually of the world today, because it is a worldwide business. Started off in 1966. My dad had a dream of making a quality shoe at a great value. Make it so it's going to last. Well, when the skaters in the 70s started wearing a shoe, they lasted longer than the other brands at that time. That's where Tony Alva comes in, because he was one of the very first people that used to go into our stores. And, if he just wore out one shoe, we'd sell him one shoe.
Basically, I'm a 52-year-old professional skateboarder. And I've been a skateboarder from, about 10 years of age. Kids are attracted to it so much because they really don't need anything but the board and a pair of shoes. There's a lot of freedom involved. There's a lot of creativity involved. There's really no set rules when it comes to skateboarding. It's that homegrown, really feeling it, the heart and soul kind of part of Vans that I can identify with and why I'm still here.
That's kind of the quick Van story.
Any skateboarders in the house? Skateboarders? Did I get it? I can't even see you guys, so I'm just going to throw a couple basketballs out. So anyway, that was I thought, a pretty good blend of technical skills. The color correction on that was fantastic. The editing, pacing, the music, everything worked together. And then from the soul standpoint, he found things that were reflective of the content, the way his effects worked, I don't know if you noticed, the sound effects were placed, the sound design was perfect. I thought that was a good example of that. So the next part is, as you look at things, I want you to critique your work. And this is one of the hardest things for people to look at is, how do you critique art? So what I look at when we talk about either on-the-air talent in your presentation or video presentation, I look at these three things: rhythm, relevance, and information. And when you think about rhythm, you know what, I'm gonna jump in here real quick, and I'm gonna find a better slide. When you think about rhythm, it's about how does it feel as it's being presented. If I start talking to you right now and I'm trying to think of what I want to say, and it's disrupting, it's disjarring, it's not what you want. So as you're producing, you've got to always have kind of a feel for the rhythm. What kind of rhythm are you presenting? Relevance, that's kind of your salesmanship. Some things are super relevant. That playoff video I played a little bit ago, that is one of the, okay, so there's rhythm, sorry. Relevance, so the playoff video, the playoffs, it's relevant. We don't have to do anything. We could just have Grant Napier go on and say, Game 2, next. And it's relevant. You're fired up. It's the playoffs. But then there's other things that may not be quite that level. And some of that, I think, is maybe your ticket promotions, some of the business that needs to take place that may disrupt the game for us. We try to amplify it. We try to figure out ways to make it where it becomes more content than commercial. So, and that's where relevance comes into play. And I have no idea why I picked that picture, by the way. So it's just, I just thought it was cool. And then information. And this is one that nobody should ever get wrong, but you'll see it all the time. You have to make sure your information is correct. Did you pronounce the people's names right? Did you spell it right? Did you double check it to make sure that it looked right? All of those things. Is it the right format? Your information is the easiest one to get right, but a lot of times is the one that seems to get wrong. So I always stress, maybe you can, stress doing that. Making sure that your information is always correct, double check it. Here's one more production that I thought is pretty reflective of all of those things at once. Rhythm, feel the rhythm of this piece, how the video and the music works together. The relevance of it is substantial. These are our guys, so our audience and who they are and who's watching this. And then obviously the information, there's not a lot of information to get on here until the end where there's a website to go to. But the sequencing, the feel, all of that is a critical part to what a video like this kind of wants to make you feel. Nothing like a coach chest bumping his center. We have a different version with a website on the end, so that one didn't even have the website. So and note, I spelled commitment right, so my information was good there. There was one slide that got out of order. I wanted to talk about it real quick. It's one of the most important things in broadcasting, and it is, in essence, the story. And what I really want is for anyone who is on the production side, I think it's incredibly important to talk about the story. Oh, that didn't work. Because no matter what the technology is and how you learn it, the most important thing in the end and what is going to drive things is your story. You've got to learn the composition of a story, the beginning, the middle, the end. What is the core of the story and how does that work? So let's go to this. Here's a video. Whoa. It's a good story with the audio, trust me. Yes. Yep, one more thing, and then I'm going to be ready for questions. So let me try this one more time. Know your audience and focus on emotion. These are the last 2 points that I want to make in my presentation. know your audience. A lot of times for me, it's the Kings fans and the emotion. Every piece that you've seen today, I've focused on bending the emotion to as far to an extreme as I could get to. And that's really, I think, for anyone who's going to produce or tell stories, that's kind of the core of where you want to go. So that's my presentation. There you go. Know your audience. Look at these guys clapping. Now, like I said, if you ask a question, then you get a basketball. So.
Hello. Thank you so much. So if you guys want to ask questions, which we strongly suggest you do, please come down to the floor mic over here. But first, I'd like to get the ball rolling and ask the first question.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Be ready. Your job is equal parts sports and entertainment. But in most high schools, we have thriving sports teams with new equipment, new uniforms, but very small media classes, sometimes with just 30 students, that are always in need of lights and cameras and programs. So how do you feel that California should go about fixing this problem?
This is the start right here. It's awareness. I think it's the people. I'm 41 years old. It's people in my generation understanding the future of what's happening and reaching out and communicating that to legislature, superintendents, principals, and in some ways being engaged and fighting, not fist fights, but showing up at whether it's a PTA meeting or what have you, and talking about the need for this, because there's tremendous competition out there worldwide for digital arts. You can look at China and Japan and India, and where this is part of the everyday curriculum. And that's where I think that if there's recognition of that, and then engaging and becoming mobile, and communicating that to, like I said, politicians, superintendents, principals, that's probably the first step. So get your parents, high school kids here, get your parents, get them engaged, push to get more resources in your schools.
That's really great. Thank you. Please don't be shy. Anyone?
Yeah, come on down.
Come on down.
Free basketballs, come on. Somebody's got to have a good question.
Who can resist that,
It's
really?
worth it.
There we go. Thanks, man.
Well, I run this sports show at my school.
Yep.
Center High School. You probably already saw
Yep.
it. And
I remember, yeah.
Thanks for critiquing it.
Yeah.
What's the most important thing when telling a story about sports? What's one of the most?
You know, it's a great question here. There's no, you have to identify what that story is. So let's say you've got a high school player who's playing great, right? That's kind of an easy story to tell. But what you want to find is, why is he playing great? So anytime you're approaching some sort of story that you think is relevant, ask yourself, why is it relevant? Why is this important? And then try to tell that story. If you answer the question of why, then you're going to tell a really good story. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, if some more people...
That's awesome.
Perfect.
Oh, I thought you guys were going to let me off the hook.
This is really tall. Hey there, Craig. Remember
What's
me
happening?
From,
Yeah, for sure.
What class? Yeah. So you said back then you used to do production on Premiere, right? So
Yes.
was it like really hard to do it, without like all these new technology back then?
No, I mean, the reason we made a shift from Adobe Premiere on laptops was that we were getting killed man hours. We would have 6 people take what we call the melt reel. At the end of every game, there's about a 30-minute tape that had all the highlights and best plays of the game. I'd have 6 guys that would have to digitize that into their own external hard drive 6 different times. So it didn't make sense to us anymore from just from a speed standpoint. So what we always wanted to do was make technology work for us, and when we could facilitate the investment to purchase this network system, we did it. But it didn't impact, all it